All righty. So today we're going to talk about limit laws and how it works if you were to add, subtract, multiply, divide functions, what the limit would be as you approach certain values of that function. So here we go. Some places call them limit laws, some places call them limit rules. Either way. For all of these limit properties and laws and rules and whatnot, we are going to use this phrasing: if the limit as x approaches a of f of x equals b, and the limit as x approaches a of g of x equals c. Then okay, so these are going to be like the generic versions of things. And then once we go through the generics, we'll move on to some examples and kind of go from there. All right, so the first one is going to be the addition or subtraction side of things. All right, so addition, subtraction, the limit as x approaches a of f of x plus g of x is equal to b plus c. So it's the limit of f of x and the limit of g of x added together. And these will hopefully be fairly intuitive here. And then same goes for subtraction. Limit as x approaches a of f of x minus g of x would be b minus c. All right, so there's the first one. Next, we're going to work with multiplication and division. So we'll see things like the limit as x approaches a of f of x times g of x. And that's just going to be b times c, the limit of f times the limit of g. Or we'll see things like the limit as x approaches a of f of x divided by g of x. And that's just going to be b divided by c, as long as c is not 0. If c is 0, then that limit doesn't work out. All right. Then the last thing we have is power and root. So we could see things like the limit as x approaches a of f of x to the, what letter haven't we used yet? D power. So that would just be b to the d power. So you just take the limit of f and then put it to whatever power the function is to the power of. Same thing goes for roots. The limit as x approaches a of, I guess we could have done n or something like that instead. We'll go d though, why not? So then you would just take that same root of f of x. The more common way that you'll see it phrased is with like an n or something like that instead of d, but you can use any letter you like. Okay, So those are kind of the basic limit rules. I'll let everyone finish writing real quick. But in the meantime, any questions on any of those? Okay. Hopefully they're fairly straightforward, and they'll seem even more so once we get into some examples. And for these examples, we're going to use the same set of limits for each one. So we're going to use the limit as x approaches 2 of f of x equals 7. The limit as x approaches 2 of g of x is -2. And the limit as x approaches 2 of h of x is 16. All right, so we're going to start off simple here. First one, we want the limit as x approaches 2 of f of x plus g of x. All right, so for this, we would just take the limit of f of x, which is 7, add the limit of g of x, which is -2. 7 plus -2 is 5. All right, next one, we'll go with some division here. The limit as x approaches 2 of f of x, or let's go h of x, sorry, over g of x. All right, so for this one, we know that the limit of g of x is not 0, so that's good. So now we can just proceed with h of x, 16, over g of x, -2. 16 over -2 gives us -8. Or a power and root example here. If we did limit as x approaches 2 of the 4th root of h of x. Well, then we would just take the 4th root of the limit of h of x, which was 16. And the 4th root of 16 is 2. All right. And then one more basic example here. Limit as x approaches 2 of g of x to the 3rd power would give us -2 to the 3rd power, which is -8. Okay, so those are all kind of simple examples of how these are used, either adding or dividing or rooting or powering or anything like that. So the other kind of problem that you're going to see with these is going to be where you combine all of these things and do like f plus g times h or something like that. And they all work together the way you would kind of expect them to. So let's show a couple of those, and then you guys will get to try a few, and we'll get on our way here. All right, so the next one we'll do limit as x approaches 2 of f of x plus g of x times h of x. So that would just be 7 plus -2 times 16, which is then 7 minus 32, which is -25. All right, and then the last one, we'll make this one nice and complicated. Limit as x approaches 2, square root of h of x times g of x squared minus f of x over g of x. All right, so for this one, we want to take the square root of h of x, so the square root of 16, times g of x squared, so that would be -2 squared. And then we're subtracting f of x over g of x, which was 7, and then -2. All right, and then the square root of 16 is 4, -2 squared is also 4, and then minus 7 over -2, which ends up being plus 7 halves. And then 4 times 4 is 16. 7 over 2 is 3.5 or 3.5. Either way is fine. So that would be 19.5 or 19.5. And that's really about as complicated as those are going to get. So looking at, I know that was a lot of examples fairly quickly. Any questions off of any of those? Any numbers we're not sure where they came from? Or any that we want to go back to and see again? Okay. Then, let's see. We'll go ahead and try a couple here and then get the assignment. We're going to use the limit as x goes to 0 of f of x is -4. Limit as x approaches 0 of g of x is 8. And the limit as x approaches 0 of h of x is 9. We'll go f of x times g of x minus h of x for the first one. And the second one, and we'll go with that for the second one. Go ahead and try those two. When you think you've got them, type "got it" in the chat. that's what you started with on the first one, you're on the right track. And if that's where you started on the second one, you're on the right track. All right, if you got negative 41 for the first one, you did it correctly. All right, and then if you got negative 48.4 repeating, that is the correct answer for the second one. Any questions from either of these? Any numbers we're not sure where they came from? Okay. Then let's take a look at today's assignment together real quick and hopefully then get on our way. Might have to refresh the page in Google Classroom. There is one IXL section for today. It is finding limits using limit laws. It's F4. So they'll do something similar, like tell you the limit of f is 3, the limit of g is -8, and the limit of k is -3, and want to know what is f of x plus g of x times k of x. So then we'll go -8 times -3, and then we'll add 3 to that and get 27. All right, so it's all very similar to the kind of problem that we've been seeing in all of our examples so far. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. At this point, if you would like to work independently, you are free to go. If you would like to see more examples or work out some particular problems from IXL with me, you feel free to stay around. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Get out in the sun. Bye, guys.